All right, ladies and gentlemen, getting back to Act 3, Scene 3 of Romeo and Juliet. We are in Friar Lawrence's cell, and as a little recap, we have just learned that Romeo is to be banished. Again, Juliet is madly disappointed that he is going to be banished, and we'll see how that is similar to how Romeo is going to react to learning that he's been banished. Um, Again, I want you guys to take note on how absurd or how childish Romeo will be within this scene. Um, all right, so let's get right into it. Scene 3, Friar Lawrence's cell. Friar Lawrence. Romeo, come forth, thou fearful man. Affliction is enamored of thy parts, and thou art wedded to calamity. Enter Romeo. Father, what news? What is the prince's doom? What sorrow craves acquaintance at my hand, that I yet know not? Friar Lawrence. Too familiar is my dear son with such sour company. I bring thee tidings of the prince's doom. What less than doomsday is the prince's doom? A gentler judgment vanished from his lips. Not body's death, but body's banishment. Romeo. Ha! Banishment? Be merciful, say death, for exile hath more terror in his look, much more than death. Do not say banishment. Very similar to Juliet, right? She and him both would rather die than be parted from each other. Again, what is Romeo? What is Juliet? They're childish. They are absolutely childish. Friar Lawrence. Hence from Verona art thou banished. Be patient, for the world is broad and wide. There is no world without Verona walls, but purgatory, torture, hell itself. Hence banished is banished from the world, and world's exile is death. Then banished is death mistermed, calling death banishment. Thou cuttest my head off with a golden axe, and smilest upon the stroke that murders me? So what is he saying? He's saying that to walk the earth without being in Verona, which we can assume means that it's without his Juliet, would be hell itself, would be far worse a punishment than dying. Does anybody else see the similarities between a whining teenager and a heart-struck, banished Romeo? It is incredible how similar Juliet and Romeo's perspective on the word banishment is similar, right? And we're going to jump back to test 1. Are Romeo and Juliet really foil characters for each other? I wouldn't say so. I would say that they are very similar, especially in terms of love. Friar Lawrence. Oh, deadly sin! Oh, ruth unthankfulness! Thy fault our law calls death, but the kind prince, taking thy part, hath rushed aside the law, and turned that black word death to banishment. This is dear mercy, and thou seest not. Romeo. 'Tis torture and not mercy. Heaven is here, where Juliet lives, and every cat and dog and little mouse, every unworthy thing, live here in heaven and may look on her. But Romeo may not. More validity, more honorable state, more courtship lives in carrion flies than Romeo. Thy my seas on the white wonder of dear Juliet's hand, and steal immortal blessing from her lips. Who even in pure and vestal modesty still blush as thinking their own kisses sin? But Romeo may not. He is banished. Flies may do this, but I from this must fly. They are free men, but I am banished, And sayest thou yet that exile is not death? Hadst thou no poison mixed, no sharp ground knife, no sudden mean of death, thou ne'er so mean, but banished to kill me? Banished? Oh, friar, the damned use that word in hell. Howlings attend, howlings attend it. How hast thou the heart, being a divine, a ghostly confessor, a sin absolver, and my friend professed to mangle me with the word banishment, with that word banishment? Okay, what did he just say? Well, Romeo, as the lovesick, the love struck, the idiot that we know him to be, the naive, childish character that we know he is, he's saying that even flies, right? There's used to be an old saying that if you compare, well, it's not a saying, it's if you compare people or things to worms or maggots, it's a really deep, dark thing to do. So he's comparing himself to a fly who in carrion flies, who he's talking about steal immortal blessing from her lips, right? He's saying, like mosquitoes that steal blood. He's comparing, he's like, well, these guys get to do this, right? They get to sit on her or steal blood and whatever, and I have to be gone. They can fly away, and but for me, I can't see her, I can't kiss her, I can't do any of those things. Flies may do this, but I from this must fly, right? So he's saying that the flies have this ability to be able to suck blood and touch her and all this stuff, and the cat and the mouse and the dog, and they all get to be around Juliet, but he would have to be banished. So he's very childish, saying like, well, the flies get to be around her, why can't I be around her, right? Like that kind of childish mentality is what Romeo is essentially saying here. He's personifying flies, right? That'll be important eventually. Personification, giving human qualities to animals or inanimate objects, right? So it is a interesting. It's not. I mean, it's obvious that Romeo would react to the word banishment just like Juliet did, right? So, friar, thou fond madman, getting back to calling him mad, right? Mercutio, right on the money about him being insane. Hear me, but speak a word. Oh, thou wilt speak again of banishment. I'll give thee armor to keep off that word. Adversity, sweet milk, philosophy to comfort thee. Though thou art banished, yet banished, hang up philosophy, unless philosophy can make a Juliet. Displant a town, reverse a prince's doom. It helps not, it prevails not. Talk no more. So Friar Lawrence is trying his best to comfort Romeo. And he says, hey, let me give you some piece of advice, let me give you some words. And Romeo's just not about it. He's like, no, your words can't make Juliet appear. You can't do anything about the prince's decision, He's being a child. He's like, no, I don't want to hear it. No, I'm going to turn my back on you. Don't talk to me anymore. I'm so heartbroken. He is mad, right? He does not see logic. All he is following is what his heart wants. And sometimes what your heart wants can bring you to downfall. It's what we're learning about this story. Friar Lawrence, oh, then I see that madmen have no ears, right? Oh, should they? When that wise men have no eyes? Interesting. Let me dispute with thee of thy estate. Thou canst not speak of that thou canst not speak of that thou dost not feel. Wert thou as young as I, Juliet, thy love, an hour but married, Tybalt murdered, dotting like me and like me banished. Hold up. An hour married? We know that's been about 3 hours. So why is Romeo saying it's only been an hour since we've been married? What was that he was doing in the beginning of the play? He wasn't able to keep track of time, right? Where he was so fixated on Rosaline that he couldn't even tell it was morning. Romeo's losing it. He's, becoming more fixated and more obsessed and more addicted, right? We went back to that about Friar Lawrence when we first met him, about talking about addictions and talking about, God, what's the word? It starts with a V. Vices, right? We were talking about vices. And the more and more you use that vice, the more and more harder it is to beat. And so we're seeing Romeo get back into that attention, hell-bent on Juliet, right? So, dotting like me and like me banished, then mightest thou speak, then mightest thou tear thy hair, and fall upon the ground as I do now, taking the measure of an unmade grave. That's interesting. Fall upon the ground as I do now. When a child tantrums, doesn't he usually, or she, fall to the ground kicking and screaming and crying, I want this, I want this, I want this. That's what Romeo's doing. That's what he's just said, right? He's also referring to the fact that he's now hit bottom, right? Now we've hit the ground. Now I don't have Juliet anymore. What am I supposed to do? He's now hit rock bottom too. But it's a play on those words. As we learned, it's a kind of has double meaning in it, double entendre. It's, it could be either or. Knocking within. Arise. One knocks, good Romeo. Hide thyself. Not I, unless the breath of the heart-sick groans, mist-like infold me from the search of eyes. Knocking. Hark! How they knock! Who's there? Romeo, arise! Thou wilt be taken. Stay a while, stand up. Knocking. Run to my study, by and by, God's will. What simpleness is this? I come, I come. Simpleness, fool. Romeo is, as you guys continually call him, a simp. There it is, right there. He is talking about how silly you are to try and just stand here in the open where somebody's trying to come in. People know that this is a place you like to go to. Why are you not running, right? Why are you still here? Romeo being like, oh, but I can't. My heart, groans and I don't care anymore. Like, grow up, right? At some point you're like, Romeo, just hide for 5 seconds and you'll be fine. Doesn't matter to him. He's just so awestruck and so heartbroken at the fact that it's come to this. Who knocks so hard? Whence come you? What's your will? Nurse. Within, let me come in, and you shall know my errand. I come from Lady Juliet. Welcome then. Enter nurse. Nurse. Oh, holy friar. Oh, tell me, holy friar, where is my lady's lord? Where is Romeo? Where's Romeo? Friar Lawrence. There on the ground, with his own tears made drunk. Right? Nurse. Oh, he is even in my mistress's case. Just in her case. Oh, woeful sympathy. Piteous predicament. Even so lies she, blubbering and weeping and blubbering. Right? They're both, while they are older and so they're supposed to be a little bit more wiser, right? They're both looking at these idiots like they're just wallowing babies. That's all they are. So it's a really interesting little bit here. Stand up, and you be a man. For Juliet's sake, for her sake, rise and stand. Why should you fall into so deep an O? He's She's calling him, stop being a baby, right? She says, be a man, get up. I think it's funny, sorry. Romeo, nurse. Oh, sorry. Nurse. Aye, sir. Aye, sir. Well, death's the end of all. Romeo. Spakest thou of Juliet? How is that? How is it with her? Doth she not think me an old murderer? Now I have stained the childhood of our joy with blood removed from little from her, but little from her own. Where is she? And how doth she? And what says my concealed lady to our cancelled love? How many times does he say doth? How is she? How is she? Is it? He was just crying a second ago. Now he's all, oh my God, I have a chance to hear about Juliet, right? He's so fixated. And this is his downfall, right? This is his and Juliet's downfall. Nurse. Oh, she says nothing, sir, but weeps and now falls on her bed and then starts up, and Tybalt calls, and then and then on Romeo cries, and then down falls again, as if that name shot from the deadly level of a gun did murder her, as that name's cursed hand murdered her kinsman. Oh, tell me, friar, tell me, in what vile part of this anatomy doth my name lodge? Tell me, what I may sack the hateful mansion, drawing his sword. Right? He's saying, where should I put this blade? Should I cut off my arm? Should I cut off my hand? Would that make things right? Would that? He's really losing it. Friar, hold thy desperate hand. Art thou a man? Thy form cries out thou art. Thy form cries out thou art. Thy tears are womanish. Thy wild acts denote the unreasonable fury of a beast. Unseemly woman in a seeming man, or ill beseeming beast in seeming both. God, Lord, thou hast amazed me. By my holy order, I thought thy disportion better tempered. Hast thou slain Tybalt? Wilt thou slay thyself, and stay thy lady too, that lives in thee? By doing damned hate upon thyself, why railest thou on thy birth, the heaven and earth? Since birth and heaven and earth, all three do meet in thee at once, which thou at once wouldst lose. Fie, thou shamest thy shape, thy love, thy wit, which like a usurer, aboundst in all, and usest none in that true use indeed, which should bedeck thy shape, thy love, thy wit. Thy noble shape is but a form of wax, digressing from the valor of a man. Thy dear love sworn but hollow perjury, killing that love which thou hast vowed to cherish. Thy wit, that ornament to shape and love, misshapen in the conduct of them both, like powder in a skirtless soldier's flask, is set afire by thine own ignorance, and thou dismembered with thine own defense. What roused thee, man? Thy Juliet is alive, for whose dear sake thou wast but lately dead. There art thou happy. Tybalt would kill thee, but thou slewest Tybalt. There are thou happy too. The law that threatened death becomes thy friend, and turns it to exile. There art thou happy. A pack of blessings lights up upon thy back. Happiness courts thee in her best array, but like a misbehaved and sullen wench, thou putst upon thy fortune and thy love. Take heed, for such die miserable. Go, get thee to thy love, as was decreed. Ascend her chamber, hence, and comfort her. But look thou still, not till the watch be set. For then thou canst not pass to Mantu, where thou shalt live till we can find a time to blaze your marriage, recounsel your friends, beg pardon of the prince, and call thee back with 20,000 times more joy than thou wentst forth in lamentation. Go before, nurse, commend me to thy lady, and bid her hasten all the house to bed, which heavy sorrows makes them apt unto. Romeo is coming. Okay, that was a lot. It was a lot. Let me backtrack here. So Romeo threatens to take out his sword and kill himself because he's so miserable. Now, you and I will say that that's illogical at this point, right? You're not commended to death, right? You're getting another chance. And Friar Lawrence is at this point fed up with Romeo's childish angst and his, sobbing and his crying over nothing, essentially, right? Friar Lawrence says, are you a man or are you a woman? Why are you crying, right? Everything that you've done until this point, right? Your love, your wits, right? He's funny, he has his wit, your shape, all of who you are, right? His shape is his whole person, right? Everything you are will be gone if you kill yourself now, right? So wait, right? And he says, and he gives the solution, the philosophy that he told Romeo, right? That, listen, man, Tybalt would have killed you. You killed him at a cell, and you have a second chance, right? It's not like you were being told to be put to death on the spot, right? Go to this other city called Mantua. Mantua, that's what it is. Go to Mantua after, go see your lady, go, take care of this, comfort her, be with her, and then be banished for a little while until we can tell everybody that you are married. You are married to Juliet. And therefore the end of this feud is over, right? Give us some time. Wait patiently, right? And then beg pardon of the prince and say, oh, okay, this is over, and come back a hero. The ending of a feud, all this stuff, and hopefully he takes it and he listens to it, right? We know he won't listen to it, but still, it's getting there. Oh, so nurse, oh Lord, I could have stayed here all the night to hear good counsel. Oh, what learning is this? My Lord, I'll tell my lady you will come. Romeo, do so, and bid my sweet prepare to chide. Nurse, here, sir, a ring she bid me give you, sir. Hi, you make haste, for it grows very late. Romeo, how well my comfort is revived by this. Friar Lawrence, go hence, good night, and here stands all your state. Right now you're back together. Either be gone before the watch be set, or by the break of day, disguised from hence, sojourn to Mantua. I'll find out your man, and he shall signify from time to time. Every good hap to you that chances here. Give me thy hand. 'Tis late. Farewell. Good night, Romeo. But that as joy past joy calls out on me, it were a grief so brief to part with thee. Farewell. Okay, so that's the ending of Act 3, Scene 3. Again, take notes. How was Romeo's reaction to the word banishment similar to Juliet? What words or expressions did they use that made their emotional state that much more prevalent? How did we see their emotions and how childish they were, right? So take a look at that. Hopefully you like this video. If you like, subscribe or, click that notification because I will keep posting more videos. But until next time, we're going to pick it up with Act 3, Scene 4. All right. Have a good one.